All right, guys, we're back again, and of course, we're going to talk about something that was not really a good year for wrestling in terms of WWE wise, but
Rest of the world. Great
rest of the world was a good year, especially for a couple people that we'll probably mention in this list. But of course, we got our best and worst of wrestling 2017. Of course, this covers most improved, but surprising wrestler, best match, along with worst match and worst wrestler or most disappointing wrestler. Let's start it off with. Let's get the negative out of the way first.
All right.
Let's go with most disappointing / worst wrestler of the year.
Worst wrestler of the year.
I would say more disappointing is probably the more correct term.
Disappointing of the year. First and foremost, I'm going to throw Brock Lesnar in the mix.
Brock Lesnar's in the mix, okay.
I just feel like he's had a lot of, it's just all the same. You know? I wanted something a little bit more out of Brock Lesnar, and this is, he's had some great matches this year, so I can't say it's like an awful year. He's not going to win this category as far as, or lose this category, however you want to say it. But I do want to throw his name in there, because besides the SummerSlam fatal four-way match, which was good, I think that one was pretty good if I remember correctly. I haven't really seen anything like I liked out of Brock Lesnar this year. It's just more of the same.
I would have to agree with you in some aspects, but I will say this, that him and AJ Styles had a great match.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like my only I don't know what you call it, kind of a, man, I'm just blanking on the word here.
I get you.
Exception. It's like the exception or like the asterisk about him as being one of the worst wrestlers.
And that's why I'll never say he's going to be the worst wrestler of 2017 is because the asterisks for him are too great. Like the SummerSlam 4-way, the AJ Styles. He had other good matches too. So it's not necessarily he's the worst of the year. So I just wanted to put his name in the mix. Just keep your eye out because Brock Lesnar did not have a very good 2017 in general. Give me some nominations from your side of things.
So nominations, of course, we had Baron Corbin, who was supposed to get a big push in 2017 after winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, even though that really doesn't mean anything. But WWE was really high on him, and he was supposed to get a championship belt this year. But
a major one, right?
Like a major one. But, he's won the IC title, but he's lost it to Dolph Ziggler now. Stuff behind the scenes, talking about concussions, also got him in trouble. So it hasn't really been a great year for Baron Corbin. I would say that's one person to add to the list. Another person I would say is Bayley, someone that was booked so well in NXT, someone that the fans loved, has now turned into this kind of character that we don't really know what to do with her because she is decent at what she does. I won't say she's great, but it just comes to a point where she was supposed to be this big baby face John Cena that everyone actually liked, and now she's kind of cringe. So that's another wrestler that I would say on my list.
A few other people just to throw out there. I don't think any of these guys are going to win. Bray Wyatt, pretty rough year for the Bray Wyatt.
Very disappointing.
Just a bunch of bland garbage after stupid storyline. You know, that's basically his year in a nutshell. Dolph Ziggler. Got to mention him.
Yeah.
But who knows? But I would say probably through no fault of his own, a bad year. Just not good booking for him in general. Kane, we don't need you. You're on the list too.
Yeah. I think another one for me, and it pains me to say, Shinsuke Nakamura. Since getting on the main roster has been booked terribly, and it hasn't helped that he hasn't had any great matches, and also losing to Jinder Clean will not garner any favors. Speaking of which, Jinder is also on this list.
Jinder's got to be on the list.
Based on the fact that push was supposed to go to Rusev. And I think Rusev could have done a lot more with that push. But, of course, there was this Indian market agenda that the WWE had to accomplish. So,
and then changed their mind like a week before.
And then changed their mind because they saw the numbers of the show.
They just waited so long.
It was crazy to me because it was supposed to be a week-long show, and then it ended up being a one-day event. So
they obviously saw no growth. So there you go, WWE. Good work. Got to throw out Randy Orton, too.
Randy Orton, yeah.
Pretty awful year from the Viper. Pretty terrible, honestly. I would definitely mention him.
Yeah, and I think another person I would add is Kevin Owens as well. As much as I love Kevin Owens, his Face of America gimmick when he was the United States champion didn't garner him any favors.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a good gimmick for him. I think that gimmick would have rather been good on Jinder Mahal and have Jinder Mahal battle for the U.S. championship, because then he could have built him up naturally, and then he could have been a better heel, work on his craft. But the Face of America gimmick wasn't working very well. I think he has revived it a little bit with the Sami Zayn partnership, but it still doesn't negate the fact that Face of America gimmick was really, really, really bad.
Yeah, gotta throw Finn Balor on the list too.
Yes.
Pretty rough year for Finn Balor.
Yeah.
He's in the same boat as Dolph Ziggler though, and honestly, probably Shinsuke Nakamura is in this boat of just like, I can't blame anybody but WWE for their year, but still to some point, like, gotta salvage what you can, and those guys didn't necessarily do much with what they had.
Yeah.
So my pick, I'm going to give you my pick now. I'm ready to just
All
say
right,
it.
let's do it.
My pick is Shinsuke, because I love Shinsuke. One of my favorite, easily probably top 3 wrestler for me on the WWE roster. Just like his style of wrestling and the matches he's put on in the past, NXT stuff he did, incredible. This year was so disappointing. Everything I watched him in was a drag. I was bummed out after every single match. Like, I cannot think of a single Shinsuke moment that made me excited to watch a Shinsuke match, and it wasn't even his fault. He wins my award.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Most disappointing wrestler of the year has to go to Shinsuke Nakamura. The fact that he was not built up as a Brock Lesnar type-esque of a wrestler in terms of he only appears once in a while. He should have been treated as something special, an anomaly, something that we've never seen before. It should have been treated like that, because now he just feels like one of the guys. He feels like an everyday wrestler, which is not something that bodes well for his entrance music, and also just the charisma, the aura about him.
Yeah.
They need to do a little bit of a better job, and they haven't done that to this date. I'm hoping they can salvage it by having him win the Royal Rumble this year, or next year, I should say, in 2018. But, I mean, it all depends on what WWE wants to do with him. I don't know if Vince is really high on him, which sucks, because if you've seen any of his NXT work, any of his previous works in New Japan, which I'm sure Vince has seen but wants to erase out of his mind, it should have been a lot better.
Let's keep in mind, too, and we haven't had a chance to discuss this at all, the whole Vince McMahon selling all his shares in WWE. Does that mean he's still the creative head of WWE?
Yeah, I think he just sold those stocks so we can create another football league.
Yeah, I know that, but does that affect his say in the no? All right, well that sucks, because when I first read it, I didn't really read too much into it. I was pretty excited.
No, because I think he still holds
he definitely still has the majority, right? He would never sell. It would be selling the company.
I'm sure he still probably has 99.9% of it.
He sold so much, though. He made so much money from that.
Yeah.
Is it $200 million or something?
I think $100 million.
Crazy.
But still, a lot of money, and we're yet to know what's going to happen there. A lot of dirt sheets and rumors have been that he's going to create the XFL again. We'll see if that even works, because it won't. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this list of most disappointing wrestlers, and like we said, Shinsuke Nakamura has been our pick.
There's got to be some other people we're forgetting, right? Some other NXT dudes who just did nothing, I feel like there's other ones. I'm just trying to think. Jason Jordan, I feel like he should be on the list too.
Nah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to put him on the list based on the fact that I like the storyline of where they're going with him.
Okay.
And I think they could salvage that.
He has hope going.
Because the reason why I do think that is because the fact that he has not had a rocket strapped to him to go all the way to the main event, or even like a proper mid card, is good. He's teaming with Seth Rollins, who's a great wrestler, a great speaker on the mic at times, a good mentor for him.
Yeah,
as he continues to grow up and become this sinister heel character that I believe that he will turn into. I think it will just take time with Jason Jordan, but we'll see.
Okay. I like it. Just one more name I want to shout out before we move on. And this is my one controversial addition to the list. I like to do this for my lists. I'm going to throw Mr. Dean Ambrose on the list because I
Yeah.
feel like his year is very similar to Brock Lesnar, just obviously on a smaller scale of like, I feel like everything I watch from him is just like Groundhog's Day. It's like always the same thing. And I'm not going to officially put him on the list just for the sake that he's been part of some incredible matches.
Right.
But Dean Ambrose just on his own, I'm over it.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose, of course, got hurt, so he's going to be out. Well, they say 9 months, but it could be sooner based on the storylines that they want to present on WWE. But yeah, he's definitely had a very disappointing year. It all stemmed from the Shield gimmick where they tried to bring the Shield back, but really it was just for Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
All this stuff that just led to a lot of garbage. But we'll see where it goes on from there. I think another disappointing wrestler, and always will be, is Roman Reigns. And based on the fact that they are still trying to create the storyline that he's trying to get over.
He's had some real high highs.
He's had some highs. The only thing I'm disappointed in is that WWE hasn't changed their mind in terms of changing his character or changing like the way he is.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll do wonders for him and it could get the crowd over with him in terms of the fact that we wanted to see it from a guy like John Cena.
Yeah.
Never happened. And now we're hoping and waiting to see what happens with Roman Reigns. But that's like the only thing I've been disappointed in with Roman Reigns. Otherwise, he's been actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Sum it up, Shinsuke for both of us. Number 2 pick on mine is easily Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Jinder, and
It's just not even necessary. It's everybody knows.
everybody knows about Jinder. Hinder Jinder.
Hindering the wrestling culture.
Exactly. Let's don't.
Go for it.
Let's talk about the most disappointing wrestling match.
Disappointing, right? Does this count as worst match too?
Yeah, worst match.
I mean, I guess my pick fits both, but I'm not gonna give my pick just yet. Just come up a couple. Let's go through the list.
I think there's only been a couple of them. Of course, we had the
Gotta talk Trick or Street fight first.
Trick or Street fight. I mean, that's just not even necessary.
That enraged you.
That enraged me.
That might be the angriest I've ever seen Bernie, guys.
That might be the 2017 Gimmick Cast moment of the year.
That was the anger moment of the year, was Bernie blowing out our mics of pure anger.
That's one of them. I think another match that I will have to add to that is the Jinder Mahal Shinsuke Nakamura match. So bad. The styles of wrestling
them.
did not mesh very well. Another one is also the Punjabi prison match.
Ugh.
Another terrible match.
Ugh.
Another
John Cena, Roman Reigns.
John Cena, Roman Reigns. I think that to me is like most. I think this is like worst match of the year. I think we're gonna go with worst match of the year. I think disappointing match of the year was Roman Reigns.
That was just boring.
The only reason why it's boring is because it was just they need someone that can actually wrestle together. I mean, they're both like not lead guys, so it's like very bad chemistry between those two guys. Another shout would be the Extreme Rules Alexa Bliss Bailey match.
I didn't watch that.
Kendo stick on a pole match.
I've heard it's bad.
It is really bad. This also like just defined Bailey's year as most disappointing wrestler. Not being able to hit not Bailey, but Alexa with a kendo stick match. She's scared to use weapons, so
Nice.
that's
Classic.
another one. Do you have any?
I'll just give you my pick now.
Okay.
Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar easily fits into the most disappointing, and to me it fits into the worst, because that was an absolute travesty of what should have been an incredible match.
Mm-hmm.
You have two freak show athletes who were actually built really well into this match. Like one of the best builds of the year was that match. And then we finally get there and it's just suplex. And then it was just like a cookie cutter Brock Lesnar match. It almost didn't even matter that Braun Strowman was in it, you know, because they could have done the same exact match with John Cena. Like I feel like they have done that same exact match with John Cena, and it wasn't necessary to do that. And yeah, they just ruined a great build and what should have been an epic moment for the year. You have your two biggest, like literally biggest stars coming together for a championship match. Didn't feel like it was anything special.
Yeah, I think the worst part about it was that was like the most missed opportunity in that sequence, because if you would have given Braun Strowman, the championship, I think it would have been a very good feel-good story, feel-good moment for them. They could have done a lot more with Braun Strowman, and if you still wanted Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, you could have done it.
Yeah, it was the perfect time.
But, of course they want to have this gimmick where it's Roman Reigns is unstoppable, Brock Lesnar's unstoppable. They're going to meet at WrestleMania for a battle of who can kick out of each other's finishers and win the match. But that's just WWE in a nutshell. My match, or worst match of the year, has to be the Bayley versus Alexa Bliss Extreme Rules match. I just thought that was so bad, the way that they portrayed Bayley to be this kind of weak character, someone that we've on NXT have endured. We loved the Sasha Banks versus Bayley match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and it's just disappointing to see where she's at right now in terms of being a jobber, basically taking pinfalls, getting injured, and just the fact that her character is just so cringe. It's cringe now. It used to be like bearable. Now it's just cringe.
Yeah, terrible year for women's wrestling, in my opinion.
It has been, and it doesn't help that they're gonna have a Royal Rumbles match.
Just add it to the list of terrible women's wrestling years. My honorable mention, I almost forgot this one just because it happened semi-recently. Finn Balor versus Kane on Raw.
Ugh.
Finn Balor getting absolutely buried by a 55-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
That was really rough. People are going to be thinking about that match for years to come. Not yet. People are still kind of like, people mention it every once in a while, and it was a big hot topic when it happened. But in 2 or 3 years, people are going to look back on that match and just shake their heads. Why did that ever happen? What was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible.
Just a disappointing thing to see, especially from a guy that was supposed to have a championship opportunity match against Brock Lesnar, but they ended up deciding not to use it. And now we're in the situation where we don't know what's going to happen to Finn Balor. I mean, he's having matches with like Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah.
And actually struggling against Kurt Hawkins, which of course is just a load of crap.
Terrible. He's not going to be in the WWE for much longer, in my opinion. And I think that's part of the reason people are going to look back on that match and just be like, why did that ever happen? Because that was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a bad match that you had Finn Balor, who honestly appears to be a very good company guy. Even he was like posting pictures of tombstones, like, with his name on it. Like, everyone and their mother knew that was a bad choice, and they did it anyway.
Yeah, I just get frustrated with it because I think Finn Balor...
I changed my mind. That's my worst match of the year. I honestly just convinced myself that was the worst one of the year, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, it's just very disappointing to see what's happened with Finn Balor, and I guess that's pretty much going to be our negatives of 2017, which, of course, in WWE has been a lot of negatives, a lot of not positive moments in WWE, but there have been a little bit of bright spots that we'll talk about.
Yeah, we're going to find the positives because there's some good stuff in there.
I think we got 3 categories here. We got surprising wrestler, we got MVP wrestler, and then we also have best match of the year.
I think we should do a 4th. This is a impromptu discussion. Best pay-per-view of the year.
Okay.
I feel like that should be on the list too. But we're going to come right back. We got to take a quick break.
All right, guys, we're back now. Now we're here to talk about the positives of WWE. I know we took a quick little break, but now we're here to talk about what we enjoyed from WWE 2017.
And outside.
And outside as well. I mean, there's obviously some good, bright moments everywhere. New Japan, ROH, other small wrestling events that we don't know the names of. But, of course, everyone's had their goods, everyone's had their bads. But we're here to talk about the goods. Let's start it off with most surprising wrestler. Someone that you didn't expect to really be this good, or someone that really just came out of nowhere and just held his own. I think I have a couple people in mind for this.
First instinct, Cody Rhodes outside of the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Been very impressed. I mean, I knew Cody Rhodes was a great wrestler, but honestly, I've loved seeing him in a more open role where he can do kind of whatever he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think is awesome. That's my gut instinct to say Cody Rhodes. That's not a bad shout though. I think he actually has had like a great year, and seeing what he's done in his time outside of the WWE already has been really impressive.
Yeah, I think for my shouts, I'm going to have a couple here. One, of course, is the Young Bucks. I think that the way they've changed the way they've used social media to their advantage, selling out tickets, selling merch, having the hottest merch, just impressive to see what they've done, and I'm glad that they were able to do it because a lot of people didn't think they would, but they proved a lot of people wrong. Another person I'd like to give a shout out to is Braun Strowman, having a monstrous year. Of course, it all started off with the Roman Reigns feud, and a lot of people were kind of groaning that Braun Strowman was just going to be another big man that we weren't really interested in. But I think he's the most athletic he's been, or he's like the most athletic big man that we've seen in a long time.
I certainly agree. I think Braun Strowman is a great shout. I honestly, he might be my winner just because of how monumentous his year has been, and the moments he's had have been just so incredible. It's hard to argue against Braun Strowman.
I think another one would be the Velveteen Dream, another guy that I really like in NXT. He debuted, kind of has this like flamboyant feel to him, and his match against Aleister Black at Takeover War Games was so good. And that's another guy I'd like to also shout out, Aleister Black, a guy that we didn't really know anything about, but the way that he wrestles is just, again, amazing. And NXT's got a bright future in their hands since the era of Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, that era. I think they're in good hands with this new era that's coming in.
I would agree. I think another good shout outside of the WWE and New Japan, Juice Robinson, a.k.a. CJ Parker in the WWE and NXT specifically, has had an incredible year over in New Japan. Some of the promos he's cut have been some of the most entertaining things I've watched all year. He's so funny on the mic, and honestly, his wrestling is really improved too.
Right.
Like some of the matches he put on were really good this year. Can't ignore him. That's for sure.
Other than that, I think that's pretty much all like the nominees or like people that we can think of. I'm sure there's a lot more since wrestling is such a vast majority of promotions and all that. But I think for my pick, I think it has to be Braun Strowman.
Got to be Braun Strowman for me too.
I think the way that Braun Strowman has been this year has been a very new resurgence for the WWE because a lot of the times WWE had a problem creating their own stars. We've seen issues or situations where they have to bring other people in over, like a Shinsuke Nakamura, a Bobby Roode, all these other guys that they bring in from these other different promotions. But they ended up creating a guy that a lot of people were groaning at. He's with the Wyatt family. No one was really excited about him. But 2017 was the year of Braun Strowman, and he proved it to you time and time again with the matches he had to get with Roman Reigns, his promos on Raw. Just everything about him is just a good shout for most surprising wrestler of the year.
Yeah. Braun Strowman, hands down, victor for both of us. I think just proved everybody wrong, like you said, like look at where he was at with the whole Undertaker thing, where people they were going to have a match between Braun Strowman and the Undertaker. Everybody was so upset. Now people would go nuts for that. That's a big turnaround in one year. That's really, really awesome. Love it. Let's move on.
All right. I think the next thing we got to talk about is probably match
of the year.
Match of the year. There's been a couple of them. Obviously, there is the Kenny Omega versus Okada.
The trilogy.
But I think specifically the second one.
I think that was Dominion.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. Love it. I'm just gonna spoil it right off the go. Okay. That's my winner. That's probably my favorite wrestling match I've watched in years, and I know I'm one of those guys. I'm one of the people who picked it.
He's a New Japan mark.
It was those matches. I don't even know if I can pick one out of the three. They were all so entertaining. It was such a great story between the three matches. I loved all of them. That's my winner. I'm gonna pick the three. I'm lumping them into one, which isn't necessarily fair, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Our list. We can do what we want. A couple other ones. John Cena, AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble.
That's another good one.
Great match.
Another good shout would probably be the SummerSlam Fatal 4-Way with Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, and Samoa Joe.
That was a goodie.
Another good one. I mean, if we're just talking one-on-ones, of course we had NXT TakeOver Chicago with Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate.
Great match.
The company's in great hands with these two kids. I mean, they're honestly kids. They're only in their 20s.
Yeah.
So
early 20s.
Early 20s. So if WWE screws this up, no forgiving them there. We had the AJ Styles, like you said, versus John Cena.
Back to New Japan, the Naito
Naito
Omega
Omega.
G1 Climax final. Incredible match.
That was really good.
If it wasn't for the other ones, that honestly, I would be picking a New Japan match this year because that would be my second runner-up for the year. There's some other ones I think we're forgetting. There was a couple of those tag team matches that were incredible this year.
The Usos and New Day.
Usos, New Day.
Carried the tag team division for WWE, where there was lack of.
The Bar and Ambrose and Rollins.
Yeah, or Mini Shield if you want to call them that.
They had a couple great matches too.
Yeah. Again, some great matches there. Other things, of course, Elimination Chamber when Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship. It kind of sucks to see where it's at now.
Yeah.
Because that was such a good momentous moment.
Yeah, certainly.
Just very upset. But I think now it's time to pick our winner. The winner, or at least what do you think won match of the year?
Like I said, I'm going to pick all three of the Okada Omega matches, specifically Dominion, just because that one is so great. Mm-hmm. But they're all incredible. Honestly, you can't go wrong watching any of those. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, you put that match on, you watch it, there's no way you're not entertained by that.
Yeah.
It's so incredible what those guys managed to accomplish amongst those three matches. Mm-hmm. And the story they were able to tell in a trilogy of matches was just otherworldly. What about you?
Yeah, those matches are great, and I do believe that they are in top contention. Obviously, Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer Newsletter, gave these matches all a 6+.
They broke the scale.
But
the fake scale that everybody gets so excited about.
Yeah, but I think the people that I think were like my favorite match of the year was the Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne Chicago takeover. That to me was a great match. Seeing those two guys that we didn't really know about all that well. Obviously we had the UK tournament where we finally got introduced into some of these guys. WWE wanted to expand into the UK scene. And those two guys, the first match was really good. I enjoyed it a lot as the final for the UK where Tyler Bate won. But I think what made Chicago better was that the crowd was just so into it. Even though I know the UK crowds are good, the Chicago crowd was even better. People were, extremely satisfied with that match. A lot of false finishes, a good paced match. Those two guys are going to be the future of the WWE.
Yeah.
For years to come, especially if Triple H takes over, because those guys will definitely be the cream of the crop, as Macho Man would like to say.
100% agree with you. Just one more match we didn't mention. This is another New Japan match, but it was so great. It was in the Super Juniors. It was Will Ospreay against Ricochet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched that one.
Yeah,
that match is incredible.
That match is good.
Go check that one out. Honestly, just matches wise, like a singular match, this was honestly not that bad of a year. There was a lot of really good matches. It was just kind of overshadowed by a lot of the bad stuff that was happening. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree. There was still a lot of great WWE matches this year too.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks because if you look at what the landscape of this list is, especially for the Wrestling Observer newsletter. A lot of New Japan matches because New Japan, of course, had a great year. They're on Access TV now, so if you have Access TV, you're able to watch it free, I think. I don't know if you have to pay for it. But, again, NXT had another great year carrying the WWE brand.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, the WWE has other agendas, other motives right now, which sucks because you had stuff like the Jinder Mahal thing, which is a negative. You had the Roman Reigns still pushed, which is a negative. Brock Lesnar's disinterested in WWE was also a negative. Yeah. But NXT being able to create these new stars like Aleister Black, like the Velveteen Dream, which is another good match and good shout. Johnny Gargano had a great match this year with the Fatal 4-Way because now he's going to be in contention for the NXT Championship.
Yeah.
Just a lot of great matches from NXT guys, and it just kind of sucks to see that it gets overshadowed by the main roster because the main roster is kind of the more popular thing to watch. Not a lot of people like to watch the New Japan. A lot of people like to watch the subsidiary brands of WWE. Yeah. But what they're missing out on are some great awesome matches, just like the Kenny Omega, Okada matches, which are great. Naito, another great shout.
There's just so much to be found right now. If you're willing to look, there's lots of great wrestlers doing their thing right now.
Speaking of which, I think it's time for Wrestler of the Year.
Wrestler of the Year.
2017 was a great year for wrestling matches. A lot of great performances. Of course, we have Kenny Omega, who's my guy in New Japan. Of course, we have Okada, who's just having the longest reign. Beasting and feasting as always. You had your guys like Pete Dunne. I know you don't like Pete Dunne with the singlet,
I
but
don't like the singlet, but Pete Dunne is a hell of a wrestler, that's for sure.
yeah, Tyler Bate again. I mean, Velveteen Dream. I know I like to shout him out. Alice
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles still carrying the brand, limping in.
He's killing it. Great year. I know you mentioned this guy on your worst of list, but I'm going to give him a big up. I'm going to just mention his name in this list because I do feel like he's had a great year just for himself. Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. I think this latter part of the year he's been good, but
Yeah. With that's my thing. Like, I don't think he can win this list for really anybody, but just seeing what he was able to do towards the latter half of the year and the stories, the crazy level and high level production stories that he's been part of
right.
against the McMahon family, it's pretty impressive for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's great shouts out there. I mean, Kevin Owens did have a great latter part of the year. Obviously, the beginning part with the Face of America gimmick obviously hindered that for me.
Braun Strowman can be on this list too.
Braun Strowman could also be on this list. The way that he's been helping Raw and its ratings. I know there's a lot of dips in the ratings, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it is right now. WWE hasn't creating very interesting television, so no one's gonna watch.
Throw a couple tag teams on this because you gotta include them.
The Usos. Usos, of course. I think the Usos have been the MVP
New Day
of 2017.
you gotta give credit where credit's due. New Day and Usos carried SmackDown for a little while.
Yeah.
Then you got the Young Bucks doing their thing.
Young Bucks doing their thing.
Big year for them. Are you ready to give our picks? I'm ready. I don't mind. You go first.
So for my Wrestler of the Year,
Naito. Throw Naito's name.
Naito in there as well.
Incredible year.
Yeah, especially because he's going to main event or double main event.
Oh my God, it's gonna be such a good match.
Great match.
Watch it.
Please watch it. It's going to be on Access TV if you have it. Please watch it. But I think my Wrestler of the Year, after all things considered, great wrestling from every promotion, but I have to be a little bit of a homer. It has to be NXT, and it has to be Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne,
Pete
Wrestler
Dunne.
of the Year.
Pete Dunne, Wrestler of the Year. The way that he's had his matches against Tyler Bate in their little trilogy, and the way that he is the bruiserweight of the whole WWE, I just think that his matches are incredible. He's always had some good spots. Can really mesh well with anybody in the NXT and the UK locker room. I mean, it'll be amazing to see. I know Triple H champions this guy as like the next big thing, and he can be because he has that dickish mentality about him that makes him believable as a heel, so you want to boo him even though he's really good. I just think he's going to win, or at least he won for me, Wrestler of the Year. I know there's a lot of guys like Kenny Omega who balled out this year, Okada. I just think that Pete Dunne has had an amazing year.
That's an interesting pick. I like it, Bernie. I have three
answers?
three things I could answer, and this is the way I would explain it. Any other year, any of these guys, if they had this year, they would win, right?
Right.
But these three people in quotations, have had such great years that it's hard for me to compare them, but I will pick one. New Day is one of them. I'm just making them a singular.
Okay.
I love the New Day. They've had a great year. I've been basically happy with everything they've done this year. Then you have Kenny Omega, who's had an absolutely tumultuous year of just pure, like, 5-star match after 5-star match. With everybody he's wrestling. It's not just Okada. It's not just Naito. He's doing it with Michael Elgin. He's doing it with Juice Robinson, a.k.a. C.J. Parker. Great match after great match. But my winner, my guy, Kazuchika Okada, is my guy.
Okada.
Honestly, and I'm gonna get a little controversial. All right, I think he's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Of all time, wow.
he just like it's so exciting and exhilarating to watch him come into the match, right? His intros are so cool. His wrestling style is so entertaining, and just the story he's able to convey through his wrestling, you know? I don't speak Japanese, so it's like I'm not getting the full experience that a Japanese person gets, but he's able to convey his story in such a way that it's wonderful to watch, you know? And whoever he's wrestling, it's masterful work. It doesn't matter who. Like his repertoire this year is the same as Kenny Omega. It doesn't matter who he's wrestling. It is a 5-star match.
Yeah.
He did it with Cody Rhodes, did it with Omega, he did it with Naito. He's going to have probably one of the best matches of all time at Wrestle Kingdom. Okada is the winner for me. Hands down.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with Okada. Very good pick. Awesome New Japan guy. After what TNA did to him in the earlier days, to see where he's at now is an amazing turnaround. And he just proved to you why TNA was stupid for booking him that way, the way that they did. Impact Wrestling will regret that for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it proved it with 3 matches that are 6+.
Yeah. I mean, on a scale that doesn't necessarily matter, but I do agree. They were probably, hands down, 3 of the greatest matches of all time. So, pretty impressive. Pretty darn impressive. And one last thing I want to mention about Okada, too. There's no way you can tell me he doesn't have one of the coolest, like, just sets of ring attire. The things he wears to the ring are so much cooler than anybody in the WWE right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, the same thing goes for Kenny Omega, too. Really. What they wear to the ring, it's an important part of being a wrestler, is your swag, you know?
Right.
I don't like using that word. I think it's kind of lame, but that's really the only word I can think of. Like, the demeanor and the way you come into the ring is so important for setting the tone. And those 2 dudes are so head and shoulders above everybody else in wrestling right now.
Exactly.
Really they're monumentous people.
Monumentous. Was there a topic you want to talk about? You had like an impromptu one?
Oh, the best pay-per-view of the year.
Best pay-per-view of the year. Okay.
This one we can just keep short. But do you have any that stick off your top of the head real quick?
Yeah.
Weird sentence.
The thing I'll say is that this is one of my picks. Of course, I've picked it before, and I might be a little bit homer again. It has to be NXT TakeOver Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That had incredible matches. Even though I think between that and
War Games?
War Games. I think War Games was pretty good, too. This is hard.
He can't even pick.
Let me think about it. I'd have to do a little bit more just thinking about the other matches in there, because I remember the War Games matches pretty well. But let me think of it real quick. Let me see the matches real quick. So we had Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate was a great match. We had Asuka versus Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott. We had Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami, and then the Authors of Pain defeated. No, this is it. This is it, and the only reason why is because there are 2 things that are great with this. First of all, you had the Pete Dunne Tyler Bate, which is a great match in itself. But you also had the Authors of Pain versus DIY. And this led to the breakup of DIY to where we're at right now in the storyline. If you guys aren't watching NXT, Johnny Gargano has just won the number 1 contendership for the NXT title.
Yeah.
Which, if he's able to win it in Philadelphia, he will have a match against Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
And the amount of story built into that, hands down, will probably be amazing in itself. And that's the reason why I'm picking the TakeOver Chicago as like my favorite pay-per-view of 2017.
Oh man, this is tough.
What you got?
I think I'm gonna just stick with my match of the year. I'm gonna pick Dominion because there's 2 incredible matches on that card. That like 2 of my favorite matches of the year. You have Okada and Omega, obviously the draw. Then there was Tanahashi and Naito, which is a great match too. That was incredible as well. There's just a lot of like other stuff on here, like Cody Rhodes, Michael Elgin was a great match. What else was on here? I mean, it was just a stacked card. Honestly, I mean, kind of all New Japan cards are right now. But that one was exceptionally good, especially because of the main event. That is my pick. That is my pick.
And that's pretty much it for the wrestling part of this discussion for years of 2017. Like we said, there have been some great, awesome matches, like we talked about with Kenny Omega and Okada, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, War Games, Dominion. Everything about wrestling had a positive. There was a lot of positives in there, but there were also negatives that we can't forget about because, it's a learning experience. You learn from these experiences. Of course, you had your Jinder Mahal failures, your Nakamura disappointments.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that were negative, but
a year of very low lows, like lots of low lows, but there's some very high highs in there too.
Exactly.
Kind of with everything, but wrestling especially. And I think the thing to remember going into 2018 is there's more hope, I think, for 2018 for wrestling in general. Because think of what we could see in 2018. You could see AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura championship, right? What else could you see? You could see Kenny Omega come to the WWE, dominate the WWE. Pete Dunne take over the WWE. There's so many good things that can happen in the year of 2018 as far as wrestling is concerned that it's hard to not be positive going into it.
Exactly.
Especially when you start off with Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, I believe.
Yes, January 4th.
So, it's going to be a good year, guys.
All right. Ready to move on?